everybody. Hello and welcome to For the Culture with Zack and Zack. I don't know if our countdown was playing. Did we have a countdown? Did it even play?
Yeah, it played, but I think it was the wrong one, but it's fine.
No, it's the only one we got. It's the only one we got because I've already asked you to send me some videos. So it's not like there's a secret additional one yet, but we'll have that next week. Everybody, welcome to For the Culture with Zack and
Zack.
Even though only one of us is really named Zack, but that's neither here nor there. We are really excited because tonight joining us is the one and the only noted educator, national consultant, renowned voice in leadership, Isaiah Walker. Isaiah, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
You know, Isaiah, that's my introduction for you, right? Like that's how I introduce you. But let's have someone else introduce you to the other Zack, Zack H. Tell us who is tonight's special guest and what makes him a fitting addition for the inaugural kickoff, very first episode of For the Culture.
Well, tonight we have the one and only school leader extraordinaire. We have none other than my other half, my fiance, Isaiah Walker. And I definitely think it's befitting for him to be our first guest because a lot of stuff is happening within the school districts, within education, within the world around COVID and educating our community. And I think he definitely can bring light to some of the stuff that's happening and how can we talk about stuff within our culture. So.
You know, that was a great introduction. It was all right? It was all right. Like I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. So this is what I want to know because you introduced him as your other half. Is he your better half? Because some people say that when they have like a fiance, they have a life partner. Sometimes they'll say, "This is my better half." Can we identify Isaiah as your better half, or I just still keep looking for that?
I think two halves make a whole, and so I think we complement each other. And so, as the Bible said, you got to be equally yoked. And so, having someone who's on the same level as you can elevate you as well. And so, I don't think there's a better or worse. I think we complement each other in a great way.
And so, your equal half, your equally yoked half, you guys are plowing the fields as you guys plow. As you plow. So with that being said, we are so excited to be here. And I'm so excited for the opportunity to engage with you, Zack, each and every Thursday at 8 o'clock with different guests. Super excited to see Larry, our good friend Larry. How are you, my friend? Mississippi's in the house with Barbara Hargrove. I love you, Barbara. Miss you so much. And again, it is a huge congrats to Zack and Isaiah for being here. And again, this is some Mississippi right here, two Zacks, Mississippi, and a Barbara Hargrove graduate of the Jackson State University. So every week we really have, this is kind of a segmented 4-minute show. And so we start off and we're going to interview Isaiah, get some key points from Isaiah. But before that, we want to leverage Isaiah's knowledge in the various things happening in the culture. So here, you guys, we start off with This Week in the Culture. For those of you who are watching us, please engage. Tell us your thoughts on these topics. And, Zack, so if you were to describe this week in the news world or this week in the culture, what's one word that comes to mind?
One word that comes to mind to kind of describe this week, I would say, between some of the topics we're going to talk about confusing, interesting roots. I think when I think of roots, I'm thinking about the Alex Haley roots because we're going to talk about some of that. So yeah, definitely an interesting week to say the least. Hey, Elle.
And so, Isaiah, how would you describe this week in the culture? Isaiah, how would you describe this week in the culture? You got to cut me off because it's going to be delayed.
Yeah, I definitely we would say.
Isaiah, how would you describe this week in the culture? you gotta cut me off because it's gonna be delayed. Yeah. You can't listen. You cannot watch the show and be in the show. You cannot watch the show and be in the show.
I don't know what's happening.
Oh, Isaiah, Zack, can you not get internet for y'all house to work? As you're in DC at the moment, I think Isaiah's in Philly, and look at what has happened.
I think because he is downstairs in like the office spaces.
It's too much bandwidth being pulled in the home. See, this is what happens when you bring the life partner onto the show. We have the internet being pulled, and look at poor Isaiah. Isaiah's going to have to log on to come back, but I know that he will as we go into text him and say, hey, log out and pop back in. It should work. One thing, guys, that has been big this week in the culture that has come through, and Larry, I agree with you, it has been heavy. Some very heavy things did happen, some horrible things, but one of the heaviest things has been Governor Greg Abbott of Texas not allowing for the continuous supply chain to flow through the state. He has implemented protocols which he says are focused on ensuring the safety of the border, which has led to where you would get 4 trucks across at a checkpoint. You're now getting 0 trucks across at a checkpoint. Zack, what do you think about this move at a time when inflation is at an all-time high, our grocery stores are lacking in stock supplies, and we're looking at just a shortage of supplies in general? What do you think about this and how it's affecting the culture?
I definitely think it's something that's truly affecting the culture, especially when he's doing this to see something as far as seeing is immigrants coming in on these trucks. So he's trying to look in and investigate and probe through all these trucks to see if they're illegal immigrants. And then also, like, knowing being in the DC area, he's already done 1 trip of busing immigrants up here to the DC area because he says that Biden is so lax on immigration. And so what I like is that the DC people have been here to support, to find out how to help individuals who are coming here. But I'm thinking that this is definitely why I said roots, because this reminds me of the boat, us on the boat being bussed away from Africa over here. And so it's just so much happening. I definitely think it's crazy. I think Governor Abbott is crazy. But what can you expect for Texas?
That's sad because there's a rich cultural heritage of Latinx citizens and Black people who live in Texas who deserve better, and they're not getting it. But the problem for me with this issue and how this affects culture is that this is having ripple effects across the whole United States of America. Again, you go into a grocery store of your choice and you may not be able to find the products that you want. And if you do find the products, the prices are high. And so everyone is wanting to blame inflation on the people who are in charge at the moment, who have control of the Senate and the House of Representatives and the executive branch of government. But these things are being done, I don't believe necessarily to stop the flow of illegal immigration. I'm saying this may be very well being done just simply to have more backlog, to hurt American people, and to benefit Republicans as they approach the midterms. That concerns me, and I think there is no room for politics when it comes down to purposely hurting the American economy. In my opinion, this is economic treason. And I think
that's the counterpart to this, but I don't think he thought about that issue. I think he's thinking about only the immigration piece.
I think Greg Abbott is stupid, but he's not that stupid. He's not even stupid. Greg Abbott is willfully ignorant and purposely misleads. I personally believe that he knows this has nothing to do with immigration, because if that was the case, you would have been doing this for a long time ago. You wouldn't have just implemented now when inflation is at an all-time high and when store shelves desperately need those supplies. He is doing this purposefully now to hurt the American people because he thinks it's going to hurt the Biden administration and Democrats in the midterm. That's my belief. I could be wrong. We'll never know because, Governor Abbott will not own up to it. In addition, this week in the culture, as we're waiting on Isaiah's return, triumphant return for the culture conversation, is this topic. Not only do we have the as Governor Abbott doesn't allow for these trucks to roll, we also have your favorite rapper on your favorite talk show with talk show host Angela Yee. Okay, Angela Yee is the controversial talking head who's seated beside the continuously lying Charlemagne the Gadfly on the Breakfast Club, and on her own little program called Angela Yee's Lip Service, she had rapper Mano. I've never heard of rapper Mano. I want to flush him down the draino. And he said on her show that he likes to be whipped by white women. He likes to pretend that he is a slave who has been chased down by his master, has been captured by his master, and then gets whipped by the white woman while being called the N-word. He said this himself on her program. I want to know, for the culture, what do you think about Mano, who needs to be flushed down the draino? And that goes for you viewers as well.
Whew, sip tea.
I don't have any tea yet. I have tea for the next show where I'll be joined by the creator and founder of Housewives and Chits Chat, the beautiful Elle. But I have water, a big giant core bottle, and I'll drink some of that.
Yes, definitely. This is some, I don't even want to say the word, but this is some self-hate and some self kind of issues that he needs to deal with. When I heard and seen this, I'm like, who the hell thinks of going and portraying being a slave to have some white person whip you to think that's sexual? Like what? And I know there's a lot of fetishes and fantasies out there, but this was definitely not one of mine. And like for us, we've had slaves to get whooped. We've seen movies of slaves getting whooped. And I've never found that to be sexually at all. And so something about that makes me think that you got some issues internally that you need to work through if that's something you want.
You know, Zach, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that I don't believe this is more widespread than what we know. And that's my concern with the issue. I remember when Kanye West made some comments that were oddly similar to what Mano has said. And I believe that this could be more common than we know, that this whole entire race fetishization from both sides is more common. And these slave games that people play may be more common. I don't know about them. I don't want to go up in anybody's bedroom. What Mano does behind closed doors, how brutally he is whipped, beaten, and possibly even sodomized, has nothing to do with me. I do not want to know. I do not want to see that. If Mano had an OnlyFans that, like, as some rappers like Tasia has, I don't know how to say it, the one that's with has babies by Kardashian women. What's his name? Rapper Tyga. Rapper Tyga, has an OnlyFans. I'm not going to sit here and want to see the Mano OnlyFans to see him getting whipped brutally. I wouldn't want to know that. What bothers me even more so is that he sat up here and let the whole world know that this is okay because he thinks that this is something the world would want to know and that the world would think is okay. I want to tell you, Mano, who's meant for the Drano, it is not okay what you want to do. Keep those things and those proclivities behind closed doors.
Wait, what did I miss?
Oh, you missed a lot. With Mano, who he gonna flush down the Drano. But what you did not miss is the more sober thing that happened this week in the culture, and it kind of builds on what could happen to Mano if Mano himself isn't more cautious. And is this? This past week we found out. That this young man, Christian Umbumsele, was stabbed by his girlfriend, whose social media is saying, I know her last name is Taylor. Is it Courtney Taylor? Social media is saying Courtney Taylor.
Her name is Jenny or something like that.
It's Jenny Taylor?
Chenny.
It's something I couldn't say. Yeah, it's what, Chenny? Chinny
Yeah,
Taylor?
Chinny.
Chitty, murderer, murderous, okay, cold-blooded murderous. So this young woman, the media is calling her a YouTuber, media is calling her a TikToker.
She's an OnlyFans.
And that's what they're not saying. This young woman has made a lot of money and has a huge following on the website OnlyFans. And OnlyFans is not just for adult entertainment. It also has a number of other uses, but she has made her profit from adult entertainment, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with engaging in that kind of work because that kind of work is real work, and I absolutely am not in any way wanting to condemn that. But I do think it's interesting that this young woman, we know for a fact, stabbed her boyfriend and killed him. After she stabbed him and killed him, she then made some content for her adult entertainment website, possibly in an effort to cover up what she had done. And now, after she was temporarily held by police, because she was never arrested, she's not been charged with anything. She said she was going to kill herself, and she was apprehended, put into a 72-hour hold. And now we really don't know where she is. All we know is that Taylor is not incarcerated. She's not in jail. She hasn't been charged with anything. She is saying that she stabbed her boyfriend out of self-defense. In that same claim of self-defense, we know that her friends and his friends have both come forward now and said they have often seen her be violent toward him. They've never seen him be violent toward her. They've often seen her act in a way that was exceptionally aggressive and exceptionally abusive, but never seen him respond back in kind, although we don't know what happened behind closed doors. Gentlemen, as this happened, his family, specifically his cousin, came out and said that he needs the Black community to rally behind his deceased cousin and demand justice. However, Black women are quick and savvy, and they went to Twitter and they found some Twitter posts that he made in the past attacking Black women, saying that they were loud and that they didn't carry themselves in a way that was professional and appropriate in academic environments. Gentlemen, do you feel as though this is a time when the Black community should come behind this young man and his family and support and demand justice for his killing? Or should we say you don't support Black women, you put Black women down, and as a result of that, you have chosen to isolate yourself from the village?
I struggle sometimes with this, and just because, not only just because you have some self-hate and you don't really love yourself, but in essence, when you go out, you still look like me. And so regardless, that's what the world see you as. And so I think, yes, if she is not found guilty or if she is out roaming the street, then she needs to be held accountable. And we need to support that and support the community, because not only did his cousin lose a cousin, but that mom lost a son. If he had siblings, they lost a brother. And so we have to support.
Right, reiterate, like say, you know, you're right. So you're saying that his Black mother and his Black family members are going through the pain of losing someone.
Yes, and there's no repercussions.
A very violent, untimely death.
Right, and there's no repercussions for this person who committed this crime. Like I saw, she was out and about, and this Black woman was like, "Yeah, we see you. You out here. Don't look like you crazy. You out here enjoying drinks and stuff with your dad. You just killed your husband. You need to leave." And so there are some videos that's circulating about that. But definitely, I think she needs to be held accountable for her actions. If this is found out that she did it just out of malicious or malice, and it wasn't self-defense as she is claiming, or her lawyer.
Yeah, I think there's one fact and two truths. I agree with everything you said, Zach. The fact is, he is not here, and he was killed. The truth is that, and there can be two truths, maybe it was self-defense, but he's not here, and you can't change the fact that he's a Black man. So Black folks at this time period should rally around the family for their loss, for sure. The controversial part is that you can't, well, he has, but you can't be in a space where you have said all these things about Black women, and now we want them to rally around, wrap their arms around someone who didn't really care for them, who publicly said this. And so there's two truths, right? Like the first truth is, he looks like us. And we should all support. And the other truth is that he also didn't want Black women.
I think Isaiah I think you both are very accurate. And when I first saw this story, I was like, you know what? This is a situation. When I read the tweets, I thought to myself, he said these things when he was 17 years old. He made these tweets in 2012, a long time ago. And I was thinking to myself, this is the time the Black community needs to demand justice for him, as we've demanded justice for a number of people that didn't get justice. We know what's going to happen. We know that, yeah, she probably has a good attorney who's going to do the work they need to do, and they're going to probably make very good progress on her behalf. But the fact that this killing may very well be exonerated, it's a reality that could happen. And so I was on the side of let's rally and lobby and let's support him no matter what he may have said. But let me say this. The fact that he made those comments back in 2012 and he has not retracted or redacted those comments in anything that we've been able to find or see indicates that level of thinking and that seed of self-hatred that was planted there grew throughout the course of this young man's life and carried him over to his adulthood, into his career in adult entertainment with young lady. That right there concerns me. I don't believe any Black woman who is not compelled to stand up for him should in any way stand up for him. I do not believe this is an issue that Black women need to carry and mantle for. I believe that this is an issue that white women should be fighting for. If you are a white woman and you are in concert with a person of color, then you need to be fighting for justice for this Black man, because this could have been your husband or your partner or your significant other. That, though, if you want some women to fight for this man to have justice, it should be white women.
But then also, Zach, he came from a Black woman. Like, this could have been a Black woman's son.
I'm
brother.
Sure I'm sure.
And so, like, there's the other side of that as well. So that's the way I'm looking at it, and from that standpoint.
And again, I totally agree with you. But on the other end of it, if I were to sit here and I disparage Black women on a continuous basis, then how can I expect them to come to my defense? Well, that's not how it works. Too often in society, we are expecting Black women to bear every burden and to shoulder every issue of society. They're constantly being asked to save elections. They're constantly being asked to uphold democracy. When you look at and think about what Ketanji Jackson had to go through on that confirmation hearing after she has built her whole entire life of working hard, being respectable, being seen as like the ideal model minority in the eyes of all the white people that she had to appease to get to where she is, to then still be told no by the vast majority of the white Senate, is disrespectful and it's a shame. And it's too much in an unfair societal burden being placed on Black women. And as a Black man, I'm saying I'll take the burden off. Black women, you can sit this one out. It's up to everybody else if they want justice for this man to fight for his justice. I'll fight for it. I'll, argue he needs some justice, but I would not expect my sisters to have to shoulder that burden, because they have enough burdens to shoulder.
And as you bring up Ketanji and I would say Kamala with their white husbands, had this been reversed, should a Black man have held up or support?
Unless Vice President Kamala Harris came out and said, I don't like Black men because they're too ghetto, I'll never hit a Black man. But I know that Vice President Harris has had plenty of Black men.
I don't know. I don't know her story. I don't know her story. That. Or her ministry.
And that's okay, because we affirm her in her right to enjoy her life and her full physicality. So if they made comments like that, then I would say the same thing on their behalf, but they didn't make the comments that he made. Isaiah, what were we going to add?
Well, I think that's the point. He made the comments, whether he was 17 or not. That's something that sticks, and it has. And I think, to Zach's point, he has not retracted or said anything different.
So that's that. Okay.
That we know of. So
but honey, I also stand by you too with what you said earlier. He does look like us, and so we should be. Everyone should be rallying around. It shouldn't just be exclusively Black women.
Yeah, and too often we're constantly asking the Black people to fight every Black injustice. It's just it can't be that way. It's too many happening. Like again, like literally today, 3 violations of human life from police brutality should be front and center in the news. 3, okay, 3 things, like 3 major police shootings should be gripping America, and it's not even being talked about. I watched the 7 o'clock national news. It wasn't even mentioned because of what they're prioritizing. So that's our work. That's our community. That's why we have For the Culture, because these are things that we're going to have to talk about. And these are things that we're going to have to amplify because mainstream news media isn't going to do it. And most Black news sources are being paid by mainstream funders, and they're not going to do it either. You're not going to hear this being talked about on the Breakfast Club and Angela Yee. Angela Yee and Charlamagne want to talk about Maynard playing slave days, playing cotton picking master's wife. That's what they want to do on their show. They're not talking about these issues, and that's the whole point and why we exist.
But that brings up a great point of, like, especially with this and his comments, should we still support as a Black community as often as we say all skin folks ain't our kin folks? And so should we still support folks that might look like us but don't think like us?
Not me. I don't know who you're going to support, but I'm not going to sit here and rally for Candace Owens. I'm not going to sit here and wave flags for Herschel and Christian Walker. I'm not going to advocate for them, fighting for Judge Clarence Thomas. I'm not going to do that. When you build your whole entire life off of hurting the Black community, even though you are a part of the Black community, you will never get my support. You will only get my scorn. You only deserve my degradation. You will never gain my respect. Not mine. But let me tell you who does have my respect. My respect has been earned and garnered by the one and the only Isaiah Walker. Isaiah Walker is tonight's culture conversation. If you're at home watching, you need to give this man a round of applause and a real big clap because it's a really prolific career. Isaiah, I want you first and foremost to tell us and we'll volley back and forth, Zach. I'll ask a question, you ask a question. And I hope you keep your questions respectful, because you know more than I know. Isaiah, this is what I want to know. Number one, what pushed you or propelled you to go into the service fields of education in the first place?
Oh, that one is an easy one. I think for me, growing up, I was in school from 6 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. My mom is a single mom, and she raised me. So school was really so much of a safe haven for me. And so it just created a space where I just loved learning. I was really close to my junior high school and high school principal. I would spend like weekends at her house. I kind of always knew I wanted to do that. And I think because I grew up dyslexic, ADHD, a comprehension reading disorder, school became something that I was really proud of. And I wanted to create the opportunity for other people, specifically folks who look like me.
That's good. I mean, I think you often talk about this whole notion of having these mirrors and these windows, and you just kind of mentioned the whole like mirror piece. Talk about how your work helps to do that for people that look like us in our community, and then how do you help integrate that within some of the work that you do within your role?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think that growing up, I can remember Mr. Torrance, Mr. DeVoe, I could remember Mr. Deo. I could remember Mr. Davenport. I could just remember Mr. Black, Miss Hunt, um, Dr. Grant, Miss Horn. All I can remember my experience, and I wanted to recreate that. And so, if we're talking about windows and mirrors, I think about it two ways. I think you got to make sure school is safe in terms of identity, and that all identities are respected. And so, when we think about like learning disabilities, sometimes you can't see those. If we think about, you said windows and mirrors, I try to create a space where all people win, but specifically Black and Brown people. So I bring in a lot of folks who look like my kids, because I want them to see a visual image of success. I want them to see role models, maybe school mommy, school daddy, whatever that is. But I want to create that space so they can actually navigate and talk to somebody that has walked in their footsteps and can speak to their narrative. So,
I just want to add in that I wrote a beautiful article for the International Literacy Association in 2017 about windows and mirrors. And so, Zach, you could read that to gain greater depth of understanding around this concept that Isaiah is talking about. No, seriously, because as an English teacher, that's the most important role and the most important thing that we should be bringing into the schoolhouse. That is our work. That's our role. And so it's really great to hear you guys have those conversations at the table or as pillow talk. So
yeah, we talking about that after pillow talk. Okay.
Well, listen, now that may be funny because it's pillow talk, but let me say this. Because this is another window and another mirror moment, right? Because people who are watching need to see and understand that there are happy, functional relationships in every community of every color and every race. When I go on social media and I see on my Instagram feed, I see a lot of couples that don't look like the two of you. And I think that this is an important portrayal and important representation that the world needs to see, because it's a balance, and it breaks down stereotypes, and it opens doors, and it shows people that you can look like both of you and me, act like both of you and me, and still be very much in love. And I think that's a very important part of why it's so great to have Isaiah here, because one thing I wrote in our show notes is that the show is about our communities. It is about the intersectionality of all that we are and all that we bring to the table every single week. And that's what we will be doing, and why we're doing for the culture. Isaiah, my question for you is that, you've been in education for how many years now?
I mean, I feel like I was in education before I was in education, to be honest. I started teaching sixth, 7th, and 8th grade science at a Catholic school, St. Charles Borromeo. And after 1 year student teaching, they hired me for a teaching job.
And so you were what, 20, 21?
Yeah.
So have you reached the 10-year milestone yet?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you've been in education for 10 years, 12 years.
Yes.
You are a principal, a school leader currently. Isaiah, what's next? How
I don't know how I got here.
To the community?
I think that's a good question. I think I've only worked in Harlem. I've worked in Newark, and I work in North Philly, right? So I clearly only want to serve very specific communities. I'm going to continue to do that work. In what capacity, I'm not sure. But I love being in a school building. I love creating a home place, a safe haven, a healthy and brave space for kids and for adults. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to keep serving. Yeah.
So I think definitely, I think, and you and Zack both come from the education arena, K through 12 or whatever. And I come from higher ed education background. And it's definitely a ministry, I think, for you all. I don't think I could see myself ever doing it. I recently just saw an article about a teacher here in the DMV area who a student spit on her, and she slapped him. That's it's like my ministry. Like that's one thing that I said. Oh, if you want to get grown, I want to get grown with you. And so, what? How do you deal with kind of conflicts and issues? Because this day and age, these students, they're a different breed. And how do you handle that kind of stuff, especially in your role, as well as with the parents?
This is for the culture.
This is for the culture.
Okay. So here's the thing. That's kind of messed up, Zach, that you're going to ask me this question. Well, here's the thing. I think that there are specific skills and strategies you need to have in order to de-escalate a situation like that. All situations can be de-escalated with specific skills through training and proper certification. I have been in moments where I have seen folks, adults and kids escalate, and we have been able to de-escalate or go to the next level, which could be a number of things. Ain't nobody gonna slap me though. It's a hard one. It's a hard one because no one should be hurt or harmed in a school, right?
But
Not a child, not
let
an
me give
adult.
more context to it. Tell me this, Isaiah. Why would no one slap you? So when you really think about it, right? Like think about when you were a classroom teacher, why did no child spit on you? Why did no child slap you? And that gives insight into.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. For someone to slap you or to get to that point, or you to be in a space, there's an antecedent to that behavior, right? What was the demand and expectation that was placed on the child by the adult in that space, right? What's the skill that was missing? There's obviously a lagging skill. You don't just get up and slap somebody. It's like a child throwing a chair. The chair just didn't go up in the air. Something happened before that to actually make this thing come to life. And so the adult's job in that moment is to train, to coach, to conference and navigate or give time, right? But we should never get to a point where we are having a physical altercation. Our job is to teach. Even as a principal, I'm a teacher of teachers. So if I see a teacher in a moment, I'm going to coach them through that moment. But the question is, why did we get there? What's the antecedent to that? What was the demand or expectation that was placed? And then what's the skill for not just the child, but the adult? Obviously, the child, something happens, they escalated. Why weren't they able to de-escalate or regulate their emotions? But for the adult, did you not see this hand going up? Did you not see this child getting up to do this thing? And so there's a number of skills that I think that need to be addressed. I think we need more information on that particular incident.
Right. In class, I mean, again, good teachers have things in place. And when you don't necessarily have good teachers, you have good administrators like Isaiah who are going to build them up to put them in that place. I would hope, Zach, that if you were going to be in somebody's classroom, that you would be an effective educator, at least an average. I don't even think average educators are running around and get spat on. Okay, they're not even getting spat on. They even know how to handle enough to avoid the spit. So again, I think unless there's some emotional and behavioral disorders or disabilities there, and even in that situation, you as the adult, you're trained to handle it, and you have the tools to help bring that child forward. That was any other questions that you guys have that are watching for Isaiah before we go into our counsel moment. So we do this periodically when there's an issue on the table that is worthy of either being a cancellation of someone or something, or counseling of someone or something. This is Zach Thomas's brainchild. So Zach Thomas, why did you even say this should be a part of the For the Culture experience?
Definitely because Zach Kirk is quick to counsel somebody. And it's no talking to them. It's no educating. It's no giving grace. It's child, they done. X'd out.
Just like you want to cancel that little girl that spat on
you. No, she would have been going through some therapy after I hit her. But But no, and I think this is an opportunity for us to talk about it within our culture because, as we know, we created this council culture. And so oftentimes we are quick to cancel people without kind of getting down to some deep rooted conversations around why we cancel them. Is there room for growth, or is there room for education? And can they come back to the cookout?
Okay, I think
Maybe we
that's
punish
fair.
them for a bit and come back
You
to
know,
it.
that's fair. And I do think that you're accurate when you say that cancel culture is, I do believe, connects to the Black community and to Black culture. I do agree with that. I do believe that culture is the one pillar of society that Black people have a lot of power in. And that's why it's important for us to exercise the cancel when it's time to cancel.
When it's time.
When you really think about it, Zach, rarely do you see Black community members get canceled. It's very rare that happens. Even when you have someone as deplorable as Kanye West, with what he said about slavery being a choice, with what he said and even what he's done in having super spreader COVID events as he housed himself in the Mercedes-Benz Coliseum in Atlanta, even he never faced the cancel. But when you have something like Goya Beans Man and Mr. Pillow Talk Man, and you have these other people doing things.
Oh, we have Chrisette Michelle. You still
now,
want to
my cancel choices are my cancel choices. I'm talking about the community. It's different. So here's tonight's dilemma for the community, right? For the culture. We all know that Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. And I say that with the conviction that he did slap him. I'm continuously saying I was wrong. You know, Will Smith did slap Chris Rock. This may not have been planned. It may have been, but I'm holding by it wasn't. I'm just saying, but we know it was a slap. In this slap, we know that Will Smith has now been sanctioned by the Academy of Arts and Sciences for Motion Pictures. And in that process, he will now be suspended from the Academy for 10 years. Because of this, some people are saying that the Academy has acted too harshly against Will Smith when other celebrities have been accused of sexual harassment, sexual abuse of minors, other things that didn't warrant such a penalty. Tonight's cancel or counsel is not Will Smith. Tonight's cancel or counsel is instead the Oscars themselves. Because of what the Academy has chosen to do to Will Smith, is it time for us to also cancel the Oscars? If you're going to suspend Will Smith for 10 years, should we suspend the Oscars and our viewership of the Oscars for 10 years? That's my question.
I struggle again.
Tag me in.
Say what?
Tag me in.
Go ahead, boo.
So here's the thing. It is a tough one again because first of all, this Oscars was very Black. It was very Black. I think that a lot of things happened that night that kind of, magnified the overall incident. I mean, on the red carpet, we were getting names wrong. There were a lot of things that were going on that I think escalated some of this. But I think that Will Smith made a decision. He made a choice to get up and do something for whatever he was feeling, whether it was in this idea of, toxic masculinity, and I have to go defend, my wife, who actually we found out later was actually still laughing at the situation. I think he did that. And I don't know if we cancel the Oscars for his decision. I think that we were headed in a direction where we were starting to say, we're actually not going to do the Oscars. Let's do our own thing. Yeah. I support that. I support, possibly going a different route. I think that has been the big fight for such a long period of time. If we think about the number of Black people that have gotten an award or an Oscar, whether it was Halle Berry from Monster Ball taking off her, and having sex on camera, whether it was Denzel Washington, who also consoled Will Smith, but he got an Oscar for Training Day, like being a cricket cop and a thug and a drug dealer. So I just don't know if the Oscars is for us anymore. If this is for culture, if we're talking about that.
Yeah,
and I think we've known that for some time. And Will Smith was the first one to get up.
Flo Lil Joe down here.
That's Larry.
Flo Lil Joe. Let me tell you something, Larry. Let me tell you something right now. You ain't never said nothing. You done said something now. The Oscars and all of these awards programs are white validation-seeking events, and it is not appropriate that you have an 84% group of white men, organization that is comprised of white men, 84% of the academy being comprised of that, being able to say this is what's worthy of praise, and this is what's worthy of recognition, and this is what's worthy of being highlighted. And the fact that you have a history of, we're going to recognize Halle Berry when she shows us her breast. Denzel Washington was in Glory. Denzel Washington was in Malcolm X. Denzel Washington played role after role after role, highly deserving recognition. We're going to recognize him until he plays a crooked cop. All of that speaks to the failures of this organization to respect the Black community. Under no circumstance would I watch the Oscars after #OscarsSoWhite, and I didn't watch Will Smith get slapped. Zach Thomas texted me and said, "Did you see the slap?" And I said, "No, I did not see the slap. I don't watch that. I'm not going to start watching it. At this point, all of this nonsense is rich people's problems. It ain't got nothing to do with me, and it really ain't got nothing to do with the culture, but I'm surely not going to watch it ever again. #cancel the Oscars, boycott the Oscars, OscarsSoWhite. Slap Will Smith, slap them Oscars. It's over."
I think I'm on the other end. I think I'm a counsel.
I'm sure you are.
I think I'm a counsel. Solely because I think Will Smith was held accountable for his actions. I think the Oscars was making a stride in the right directions to pull us in. Yes, is this white validating the Oscars? Yeah, it could be seen as that, but it's also validation amongst your peers to be noted for your work, your body of work. And so I think that's something to be said. Like, all of us want to be validated as far as our work that we do amongst our peers that we go up against for these positions and these acting jobs. And so this is an opportunity for us to be in the system to compete. Yes, do I think we need to create our own system? Yes. But do we have to leave a system to create our own system, or can we have both? Like, who's to say we can't have both?
BET ain't been the same since Bob Johnson.
What was that?
I said BET ain't been the same since Bob Johnson left. So
Bob Johnson lost his mind too. Because he gave a large amount of money to the one and the only Donald John Trump. So lost his mind. But everybody, we are at the end of time. I have 5 minutes to transition over to the next broadcast. So Isaiah, thank you so much for joining us, my friend.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
And Zach, what's the plan for the weekend? Anything fun?
Yeah, we're actually gonna spend this Resurrection Sunday together, thanking and giving God glory for waking up on that third day. And so we're gonna have some fun here in the DMV area. And so,
seeing the cherry blossoms.
Seeing the cherry blossoms. We could see the cherry blossoms. I haven't seen
you. I mean, if I was in DC, I would not miss them. I think cherry blossoms and dogwoods are so symbolic and representative of the Easter season. So for everyone out there, I hope that you guys all have a phenomenal Good Friday where you celebrate in your own way.
And Passover for those who celebrate. And Ramadan.
Yes, and definitely celebrate and recognize Easter. So thank you guys so much for watching, joining, and I will see you guys next week.
Yes.
So we still not going to talk about the privilege?
What privilege?
I mean, Zach, I agree with you, baby. I agree with you a lot. And I also think that Will Smith, there's a level of privilege that he does have. He was able to get up and smack somebody and walk back to his seat.
And that's a privilege that Chris Rock shouldn't have given him, because that's a piss poor man. You ain't gonna walk up on national TV and slap me and turn your back to me and think I'm not gonna jump you back, please. And therein lies a problem. See you guys next week.